probably wouldn't be too happy to see me since I, sorta killed her.
Killed her?
The 56th Disney animated feature film, Moana, was released in 2016, and everyone loved it. In this video, we will highlight all deleted scenes that did not make the final cut of Moana. Let's get right into it, shall we? The Lost Brothers scene.
I taught you that move!
Consider it a compliment! You're a really good teacher!
No.
This is one of the earliest scenes in the movie that got deleted. This scene shows Moana having 6 older brothers and competing in a canoe race with them. The scene opens up with one brother yelling at Moana to leave at the race was meant for only boys. Moana then replies that she sees no reason to, as she has even outwitted her middle brothers to almost get to the finish line. We also see the onlookers amazed to find out that the 6th sailor is not one of the boys, but in fact Moana, who is doing so impeccably. In the end, she uses a technique taught by one of her brothers against him and ultimately wins the canoe race. She excitedly keeps to the shore, happy as that the winner, she gets to be her father's second on his voyage to Tahiti. Unfortunately, she is greeted by an angry father who is upset that she took the shrine away from her brothers. He even names her elder brother, the first runner-up, the winner in her steed. As this scene was meant to showcase Moana as an excellent sailor, we are not surprised that it was cut so that there would be room for the sequence of Maui eventually teaching her to sail. So to make her less proficient in sailing, the directors did the best thing possible, take away her brothers entirely and make her an only child. Genius. We can also recognize the fact that her father and the people of Motunui were no longer voyagers. Remember that they had a bunch of ships hidden away? So this is another reason why this scene, as entertaining as it was, did not make the final cut. The sailing lessons with Dad scene.
I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna be a navigator, like Maui. Find a new island.
We are not exactly sure where this scene would have been placed, but we can assume it was in the beginning, as it involves a very young and curious Moana. We see Moana and her father on a small ship in this scene. Her hands are in the water, and when asked what she is doing, she smiles and tells her father that she is cutting the ocean gently, just like her grandmother taught her. When she becomes distracted by the animals on board, her father tells her to come to his side so she may help him. She listens, but as she leans back to help him dip the sail, she slips and almost falls. She is caught by her father, who then tells her she must master being still. Instead of taking this lesson, she asks why they only sailed to 3 islands. Her father says that those are the only big islands, but she insists that this is not true, and her grandmother has told her stories of the Great Migration, where their ancestors sailed for thousands of miles in search of new land. The exchange leaves Moana sad as she hopes to become a great navigator who would one day sail off to discover new land, including Tahiti, an island her father claims does not exist. Naturally, this scene could not have made the cut, as it suggests that Moana's father was teaching her to sail, a very unlikely thing to happen in the movie that was released. The sailing lessons with Grandmatala scene.
You are your father's daughter. Stubbornness and pride. Mind what he says, but remember, you may hear a voice inside.
This scene opens up with Moana calling loudly for her grandmother to follow her. Moana is excited and cannot wait to get on the boat, but her grandmother stops her. She tells Moana that she is not yet ready to climb onto a boat yet. According to her, a sailor must first know where he is to stand a chance at fighting where he wants to go. Moana thinks this is easy, but she fails the first question and is thrown into a series of lessons, counting and memorizing steps, listening to the world, trusting her eyes, ears, and nose, as well as mastering the art of staying still. In this scene, we even get a glimpse of Moana's grandfather and what he was like. We learn that he loved to be in the ocean but eventually died at sea. Her grandmother tells her that she still gets to see him as he comes to her in the form of a shark, the same way she will come to Moana as a manta ray when she dies. We all love Grandmatala, and this scene would have let us see more of her. Aren't you sad it got cut? Moana joins the voyage scene.
No one goes outside the reef. We are safe here. There is no darkness. There are no monsters.
In this scene, Moana is sailing a ship on her own with a little help from Pua. At some point, she dares to venture away from the rest of the voyage ships, leaving behind her father, who is calling out to her. When she comes up to the reef, she is forced to stop. Her father then arrives, reminding her that she was warned to stay within the reef. She denies that she was about to sail out of the reef. She also adds that even if everyone else sees it as a forbidden action to cross the reef safety, she sees it as just a mere barrier. They go back and forth, but her father gets carried away with a knot she ties on the ship. Her father then expresses that he is afraid of the fact that, try as he might not be able to tame his adventurous daughter. This scene is one of the sweetest we have seen of the father and daughter duo, but we definitely agree with the makers that this scene had no place in the movie's final cut. The mother and son disagreement scene.
One day, the heart will be found by someone who will journey beyond our reef.
The directors definitely had a lot of brilliant ideas for the start of this film and the sequence that would lead up to all that adventure. And this is another one of those brilliant scenes that we didn't get to see. This scene begins with Moana sleeping in a half with Pua, her pet pig. She springs up from the mat when she hears an argument coming from outside. It is her father and grandmother arguing about her. Father does not want Grandmatala telling Moana the stories as it fuels her quest for adventure, while her grandmother deems it necessary for their survival. Her father expresses that his fears are valid and are not just his father die on this quest, but so did several others that have tried for hundreds of years before him. Before leaving the tent, he uses his office as the chief to command his mother to stop encouraging Moana. The eight-eyed bat scene.
Come on! I told you not to touch the urchins!
Remember the scene where Moana and Maui find their way to the underworld for the first time and they have to fight their way through some eight-eyed bats? Before this, there was a much more involved scene where they were tackled one bat in particular. This deleted scene begins with Maui and Moana landing in the underworld. Before Moana can dust herself up, Maui says, "Welcome to the underworld," in a very haunting manner. Maui then points to Tamatoa's tavern and the two begin to head in that direction. Moana stops when she sees some kind of plant and even reaches to touch it. Maui is quick to warn her not to do so. We even see him intentionally bending his body, entrapment style, to avoid touching a bunch of the plants that become across his head. Well, it is sad that we will never know what happens to the victims of the plant. This is the point at which Maui hides behind a boulder and warns Moana that his arch nemesis is just ahead. Maui goes on to explain that the eight-eyed bat would not be pleased to see him, as he would be the one that killed her and sent her to the underworld. The plan to quietly walk past the sleeping bat goes out the window when Maui steps on a shell that releases a loud breaking sound. Moana sees a lot of shells on the floor and knows that Maui's plan to stay quiet will not work, so she stands him a shell and instructs him to follow her lead once they split up. She makes it to another rock, then makes a trumpet sound with the shell. The bat wakes up startled and is misled by the sound away from Maui. Maui does the same, allowing Moana to move an inch further. The idea was to keep doing this until they both got to the end of the bat's lair. Well, it is until Maui makes a mess of it. The scene ends with the sacred Moana gripping the rock as the bat comes closer to finding her, while waiting for Maui to blow his horn to lead it away.
Well. Little Maui's having trouble with his luck. You little semi-dummy mini-guy.
So which of these scenes would you have loved to see? Let us know in the comment section. Don't forget to like and share this video. Subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell so you do not miss any upcoming videos.
Hey! You can't win with that move! I taught you that move!